I think you're the problem, the media. And speaking of loathing, you're loathed far more than I am.
Reporting in the media?
Yeah.
Oh, then it must be true.
So
It's in the media. It's a leaker. I'm not going to, let's imagine that were true. I certainly wouldn't discuss it in the press.
Is there any chance that the president would be interested or is considering working with left of center Democrats to push back on this?
Well, unfortunately, we don't seem to have too many of those left in the Democrat Party.
We have gone so long letting the left say the most crazy, outlandish thing.
Can you believe that the liberal media pundits believe that they can outsmart those who stand on the truth? Big one from Elon Musk today, interview making waves throughout social media world and more. No matter how much you throw at them, the media, the left, the liberals, they appear like zombies, unfazed with the facts, and they just keep coming. Only it's waking up millions across the earth. We're going to look at this, the rise of communism, how Islam destroys nations, and the National Guard safeguarding our elections. Oh, can't wait to get to it. 513,000 followers on Rumble. Thank you so much for following us there, folks, and hitting that like button. And we're number 3 again on the leaderboard. I actually was going to pull that up just to show you guys once on a live look at the leaderboard when you click on it. And you're looking at the other day. Let's see, today, when we're, as of this recording, yep, it looks like we're number 3 again, right next to Steve Crowder and Dan Bongino's show. Thank you so much for your following us there. We certainly appreciate that. And here's something for you.
Our new And We Know bracelets connect you with scripture with just the tap of your phone. Simply tap your phone to the bracelet, click the pop-up, and there's a new verse every time. If you're feeling anxious, need to pray, or just want to see what God has for you in the moment, you can tap for a verse and pray over that situation. Now available online.
Available online at our new website. Folks, I hope you checked it out, andweknow.com. Man, it's so nice, so smooth, so clean. You can see we have home, podcast, watch, listen, subscribe, LT guest appearances on other shows I've been on, partners. You can shop. You can hit the support button, get involved, Patriot Showcase. That's our pictures of Patriots. We ask that you send those in, folks. Hit that Patriot Showcase. We need more photos so we can highlight them on our videos. And then you can go to the resources page. There's a lot of stuff there, a lot of goodies for you. It is absolutely brilliant. Speaking of goodies, here you go.
Prominent Republicans who have said they want you to take over the Iran negotiations. They trust you. They think that you will prioritize Israel's interests, and they're attacking Vice President Vance.
Who are these prominent Republicans?
So here's a media person saying, "Oh, there's people out there saying that Marco Rubio, you should be doing this work, not J.D. Vance."
She, the Wall Street Journal opinion page. There's people.
Well, that's not Republican. That's a newspaper.
Well, who's saying this? Marco Rubio says, "Who's saying all this?" Oh, the Wall Street Journal.
You're a troublemaker with these questions.
It leads right.
No. Look, guys, listen. Here's the bottom. You know who the lead negotiator is? His name is Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States. That's who dictates our policy. He has a team of people that work together on this. We all have a role to play, depending on what the topic is. We have very good negotiators in Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. We have the Vice President of the United States, which is the second highest ranking official, which tells you how the importance we've given this file. Obviously, I have a role to play. The Department of War has had a role to play. That's how we approach it. This doesn't, I mean, it's a combined effort, and it always should be.
Do you wish people didn't endorse you to take over the talks yourself?
I mean, you're telling me about that, but that's not how our system works. That's not how this administration works. It starts at the top. The
Amen.
president is in charge.
That's right.
And he has a team of people that provide counsel and provide advice, but ultimately whose job it is to execute on the president's directive. We have a great team that works very well together. On that topic, we work well together on a number of topics. We work together as a team on Lebanon. We've worked together as a team on Venezuela. We've worked together as a team on the Thailand-Cambodia peace agreement that was put together. We've worked together as a team. We have a really good core team that works on foreign policy and national security. And oftentimes it's a multi-agency effort because there's a role for Treasury to play. Sometimes there's a role for energy to play. That's how these things work. It's not one person. It's all these different elements of our government that have to work in conjunction and in concert to execute on the president's directive and on the direction that he's giving us.
And that direction seems to be handled by the military takeover with the national emergency of our government and more. All of this playing out before our very eyes. And I tell you, the big one that hit this week, he's talking about the media, how they ask these stupid questions. Oh, don't you think that J.D. Vance should come off of this? You're the one that everybody wants. Who said that? Who says there? Oh, Wall Street Journal, all the news. He's going to talk about the fake news a little bit later on. Well, let me show you something else he got hit with.
Did you talk to him about Russia sharing information with Iran targeting U.S. troops?
Well, who says
Russia working with Iran to target U.S. troops? Wow, the media.
Well, who says that they are?
Who says that they are?
Are they not?
Who says they are?
I accept the knowledge that Russia was enabling in some ways, Russia and China.
Yeah, but that's a different question from what you just asked me. Who said that they're doing
There's
that?
been reporting that they're
Reporting in the media?
Yeah.
Oh, then it must be true.
Oh, reported in the media. So here's the media asking a question of Marco Rubio, and their source is the media. You guys get it? They're not doing their job. So imagine if you're in charge. Like if I'm running, I used to run AFN, okay, in the military. If my reporter came to me and had a news story, and we used to do 2 segments of 2 minutes each. We'd have a 10-minute newscast every night, and we give them that local news for 6,000 people, on a tiny little base in Iwakuni, Japan. If my reporter came to me and said, hey, we've got this information that it's going to cost a certain amount of money to build this facility for the new PX on base, for say, PX post-exchange, okay? And they tell me that there's rumors that it's going to be around, $6 million to build it. Well, where'd you get that information? Well, I was talking to another reporter from Stars and Stripes, and they gave me that information that it was going to be $6 million. Did you talk to the head of the exchange? Did you do your research to find out how much it's really going to cost? Oh, you found out from another reporter. I get it. Believe me, they wouldn't have had a good day working for me.
It's in the media. It's a leaker. I'm not going to, let's imagine that were true. I certainly wouldn't discuss it in the press. I've already told you guys yesterday something, and I was very clear about it. Nothing that Iran is doing, nothing that anyone's doing to help Iran is in any way increasing their ability to target Americans. What you need to all understand, because we've explained this repeatedly, is Iran has spent the better part of 20 years not just sponsoring terrorism, but building long-range rockets, short-range missiles, and drones. And they were intending to build them a lot more. They were intending to double their stockpile of the stuff you're seeing them use now. They were going to double that. And they were going to use that and hide behind that to say, we're untouchable. We can now do a nuclear weapon, and you guys can't touch us or we'll overwhelm your air defenses.
Yeah. There we go. Just letting them have it. They're asking stupid questions, then they get their answers. Which leads me to The Economist's editor-in-chief, Zanny Minton Beddos. I guess that's how you say the name, Beddoes, or Beddoes. She asks a question. I'm going to tell you who she is, where she's from, if you're not looking at your screen in a moment, but just listen to this.
You say things like,
Popular guy.
quote, civil war in Britain is inevitable. Just a question
On the current
of when.
trends, yes.
I mean, when were you last in the UK?
A few years ago.
Exactly. So I live there. I'm there the whole time. That is nonsense.
You live in a cloistered existence.
No, I don't, actually. And the numbers also disprove what you say.
What numbers?
All the numbers about crime. London is a much safer city than any city in the United States.
Oh, let's go ahead before I play the rest of this. Zanny Minton Beddoes went to a private all-girls boarding school in Shropshire, where fees run up to £45,000 per year, about 60,000 American dollars a year. She was born and raised in Shropshire, one of England's most affluent rural counties. She attacks Elon Musk, saying he's wrong and the UK is thriving. Elon hits back that she lives in a cloistered existence. Big word, cloistered. He's absolutely right. She's Oxford and Harvard educated. She doesn't live in the towns where migrant grooming gangs operate. She can't see the destruction from her ivory tower. So many elites in this country and Europe are removed from the decay their leftist policies have brought. And Elon Musk is going to take her to the cleaners. We got a lot of this today.
Violent crime in the UK is not where you think it is. In fact, it's coming down. You have painted, and because you have so many followers, so many Americans believe it, a kind of view that Europe and the UK are kind of, overrun with terrifying Muslim immigrants. There's rape on every corner. There's a sort of civilizational destruction.
I haven't said any of those things. If you have...
I haven't said any of those things. That's right. Oh, man.
A large and rapidly growing group of people whose beliefs are antithetical to Western beliefs. At some point, there will be a reckoning.
There will be a reckoning. Huh. Let's get this one here.
But the fact that, as you pointed out, 250 million people follow me is that I think a lot more people actually like me than don't. And I think a lot more people hate you and the media more than you realize. Do you realize the media is despised? Do you realize that journalists, the view of journalists is like, it's like a favorable view of journalists is like 15%.
I do know that in the United States.
So the shoe is on the other foot. They hate you. They hate you far more than they hate me.
I think there is certainly a loss of trust in journalism. I think in part there have been mistakes by journalists and journalism. I totally acknowledge that. But I also think that the kind of polarized environment, particularly on social media, fostered by the kinds of things you are pushing on X, actually helps this, makes it worse.
I don't think so. I think you're the problem, the media.
Amen.
And speaking of loathing, you're loathed far more than I am, and you don't seem to even realize that.
I think very few people know who I am relative to you, so I don't think I play in the same game.
The media collectively. So, I mean, you're hated. Do you even know that?
Do you even know that? Oh, they come out of their little bubble, then they get told the truth, and then they look like they're about to cry. Kind of reminds me of something here. I'm going to show you this. And I saw it. I said, man, this is so good. Kimberly Howard, great job. X actually, after this interview, posted, somebody play Freebird. Interesting, after the interview with Elon Musk, right? Kimberly Howard saw this and said, when does a bird sing? Yeah, Freebird. When it's a freed bird. Twitter is a crime scene. Think public and private Twitter accounts. They all have them. All these elitists, these criminals. And then they use their mockingbird media, the birds, right, to go out there and play the attack role and try to brainwash the people. It's interesting, right? Because if you look at some of these comms about free bird or bird singing, when does a bird sing? You go on keyboard, it says, man, Twitter rants can be harmful. Lesson learned. When does a bird sing? Remember the rants that they had? Think about public and private Twitter accounts. They all have them. These people are stupid. We have it all. Their accounts were just filled with all kinds of criminal type behavior. And remember when Elon Musk took over Twitter and changed it to X, he came in with that sink. Let that sink in. Now, some of you out there are like, well, Elon Musk isn't part of the team. He's not really blah, blah, blah. And I tell you what, I have my opinions. I'm not going to give too many of them away. I'm just going to say, man, when things like this are handed to us on a platter, we're like realizing the media is getting destroyed left and right, and the truth is playing out, which I'm going to show you a lot more of this. And then we have connections where X is bought, and you realize, man, who got the most money seemed like out of all the accounts from the Department of Defense, and we were told by Kash Patel back in the day on Fox News, man, we gave him multi-million-dollar contracts, highest paid contractor, civilian, blah, 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 and he got all this money. And then what did he do with a lot of that money? Well, he went and bought a platform that's used by a lot of people. And there's speculation that it's going to change, and that's why they're forming all types of TikTok accounts now, and you'll see the White House, Department of War, all these folks are making TikTok accounts thinking There's people thinking, well, man, if they're making all these accounts, Twitter must be, or X must be going away soon or not have the control that they used to have. Well, we'll see. It's interesting. Also, drop 153 had When Does a Bird Sing at the bottom. If you read some of this, it says, for the coming days ahead, ask yourself an honest question. Why would a billionaire who has it all, fame, fortune, a warm and loving family, etc., want to endanger himself and his family by becoming POTUS? So I would even add, I'm adding to the cue board in a way, but why would a billionaire do the same thing and risk his family and fortune to be in the limelight and answer these questions and actually put the media in their place and all these other leftist freaks? Okay. Does he need the fame? Does President Trump need the fame? No. He's already famous. Yeah. So would the chances of defeating evil grow less and less with each passing year? What does a red line mean? Why, again, were there arrests made in Saudi Arabia so very important? What strings were immediately cut? Follow the money. When does a bird sing? Oh, boy. Somebody play Free Bird. I'm going to get a lot more into this in my personal experience as a journalist in the media world, when I lived that in the Marine Corps. And go into some more takedowns by Elon of this elitist, leftist, basically representing all the left in a moment. We're living in a world where plastic is no longer just around us, it's inside us.
And we start with a new study on the impact of microplastics, which found human brains contained as much plastic as a plastic spoon, which is up 50% from 2016.
What we're finding is in the brains of people who have dementia, there's actually higher amounts of microplastics.
And these microplastics don't stay just in your brain. When that ecosystem is disrupted, your health can suffer, triggering inflammation, high blood sugar, and oxidative stress, the leading driver of cancer. The good news is that while you can avoid microplastics entirely, you can support your gut and help your body fight back. That's where kimchi comes in. Certain probiotic strains found in kimchi have demonstrated the ability to not only remove toxins like BPA, new research is also exploring how these same beneficial bacteria may help bind and excrete microplastics before they can go and do further damage. Kimchi is one of the world's most powerful superfoods, but its strong taste and smell can make daily use a challenge. So Kimchi 1 gives you all the benefits of fermented kimchi in an easy-to-take capsule without the mess or hassle. Each capsule delivers over 900 probiotic strains like enzymes and antioxidants that help restore balance in your gut. People are seeing improvements in digestion, bloating, regularity, energy, and metabolism. Studies show that kimchi can even reduce the risk of obesity by 31.8%. Kimchi 1 is made with all natural, non-GMO ingredients and 100% made in the USA. I personally love knowing that I'm supporting my gut, immune system, and overall health with one simple daily capsule. If you're looking for an easy way to help your body fight back against today's toxic environment, Kimchi 1 is it. You can get 25% off your order by going to the link below, or for an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore and they'll give you up to 50% off plus free shipping. Call 888-317-9941. The first 100 callers to order will also get a free bottle of vitamin D3. Again, you can only get the 50% off, free shipping, and free bottle of vitamin D3 when you call. Once again, that number is 888-317-9941.
You support not just the populist right, but the far right. In fact, very fringe parties in some countries.
No, I support the normal people.
Okay.
What do you call the far right? Falsely.
You think as the normal person? Okay.
Yes. Literally, you could go back 10 or 15 years, and these policies were completely normal. In fact, one of the tricks that I think is funny. One thing that's quite funny is to take a speech from Obama and Hillary, and then go to someone and say, who's sort of on the sort of what I call the lunatic left, and say, what do you think of the speech by Trump? I'm like, oh wow, he's the worst person ever. Actually, that was a speech by Obama, or actually, that was a speech by Hillary.
Let's just pause here for a second. Let's show you one of those speeches.
This administration, the Bush administration, has done nothing to control the problem that we have. We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not paying the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. As president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need. That's step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker. That has to change. They have to be held accountable. Start shedding some light on the problem, and we can once again be a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. That's what I intend to do as president of the United States.
You know what I do? I play this every time the media walks in the room. They want to talk about, President Trump this, President Trump that on the illegal level. Just play this. Play it. So you remember that guy, the guy you worship, the guy that you basically think is God on earth? Yeah. He said the same thing that President Trump's saying now. Yeah. If you walk out and you play, you don't play it and you just say, let me give you a quote. What do you think about this? Oh, my goodness, Trump's terrible. How dare he say that about illegal immigrants and stopping them and these employers from blah, blah, blah. And they'd say, hey, no, that was actually Obama. And that's what Elon is trying to point out here.
No, I agree that the center of gravity in this country has shifted, certainly in the Democratic Party, shifted to the left. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people like Rupert Lowe. I'm talking
right,
about
please.
people.
It's actually just normal people. It's just normal people. It's just normal people. And and here are the principles. And tell me which of these sound terrible. That we should have secure borders. That we should have safe cities. That we should have sensible spending. Which of those three are far right fringe?
No,
and I would like to just admonish you and the media for the absurd characterization of the far right. It is false and misleading and nonsense. Please keep this part in.
We'll keep all of this in, but let me.
Don't cut this part.
Yeah,
you support.
Yeah, because they will. He knows they will, but they left it in. And it's interesting, not all of them. But you start realizing, man, what bubble world are they living in? And, Elon Musk masterfully takes this elitist down.
But zero died because of
that's
Doge.
what I...
Zero died because of Doge. She's upset because, oh my goodness, Doge went in there and they took USAID away.
That's what I would take issue with.
Zero.
I think
when funding is stopped for fraudulent organizations or for something, do you think they're going to say, well, please keep funding the fraud? Or do you think they're going to come up with a sad story that sounds sympathetic in order to get the funding restored? Obviously, it will be the latter. And that's exactly what they did.
In fact, certainly cause unnecessary suffering. I mean,
no.
No?
No.
You don't buy that at all?
It caused a lot of complaining.
You don't buy the idea that anybody, to put it really crudely and simply, any kid in Africa died because of the suddenness with which...
Zero.
I just don't think that's right. I just don't think... I've had people reporting in Africa who...
How many NGOs are there that could step in? Because bear in mind, it happened quickly. And there are literally tens of thousands of NGOs.
Non-governmental organizations, for those that don't know, NGO.
Not everyone functions as fast as you do. If funding is cut off for antiretrovirals overnight, and it just stops, then people will die when they don't have access to them. And it just...
only if they cannot get funding for that. But the Gates Foundation has $50 billion.
Yeah, Gates has $50 billion. Why can't he go in there and buy all these, right? If he's already creating this massive vaccine program that's killing people, why does he fund it?
What about them? What about any one of a number of organizations? What about
well, in lots of these countries, USAID...
Mackenzie, whatever her last name is, used to be Bezos, gave $50 billion. What about that?
But, let's be practical. In many of these countries, USAID was the biggest funder. But I don't want to have an argument.
USAID was a political organization.
It may also have been that, but it was the biggest funder of healthcare systems. So I am...
Oh, it was a funder of healthcare. Funder of healthcare. As a matter of fact, they did all these studies on helping people become transgender, LGBTQ this, and she has lost her ever-loving mind. All the facts that were given to the journalist, she could have done her research and realized just how corrupt it was. But nope, I'm going to stay in my little bubble, and I'm going to listen to my little friends in my bubble, and I'm not going to get out there in the front lines and find out what's really going on, because that's who I am.
very
biggest
sure that there was
funder of regime change.
and there may well be benefits from having changed
Also,
the system.
USAID funding was not stopped. It was moved to the State Department.
It was stopped. There were huge numbers of things shut down in Africa that were
No,
kind of
there were
health
claims
related.
of this. These claims are false. They're nonsense. And
They're false. Absolute nonsense. Do you see how she's talking, folks? She's talking as if I was around my elitist friends and this is what they told me. And these are some of the reports from my elitist friends. And I'm just telling you what she has no facts. She has nothing in front of her. She's just attacking Elon because of everything that she was told in her little bubble. And Wokeness showed this, if you're looking at your screen. The entire rap industry, ever since USAID got defunded, the whole rap industry, the rap music, they just can't get up there anymore. They used to be number one and all, and now they're on even the charts. They're not getting funded to make people believe that they're listened to.
You anti-Muslim?
I'm against having if people are coming to a country with antithetical views. I am against that. I'm against that. You know, I'm against. I'm against rape and murder. I'm against the imposition of rules and laws that are contrary to what we've come to accept in the West. And I think it's a crying shame that the sort of traditional media, like you, don't recognize this.
Why should you be able to shape European politics? You don't even live there.
I think of it as the sort of the West collectively.
But do you see why this makes people think that this man who has all this power, he's the world's richest man, he thinks he has a right to influence our politics? It makes people, it's why, we started this conversation saying superlatives. It's why people loathe you.
So why didn't she do her research and find out what Soros was up to? Why didn't she do her research and find out what all these other elitists that buy these huge, like YouTube and more, and they go out there and they stop the free speech of the people there? No, it's only one way for them. You are the bad one. You stop the leftists and the liberals from speaking. You're letting these conservatives tell the truth. How dare you? It's hurting our very existence as journalists.
I mean, some people do loathe you.
Yes, some people do.
But do you understand why? Do you think what you're doing is helpful for Western democracy?
Maybe some people do loathe me. And that's probably true. I don't care. But the fact that, as you pointed out, 250 million people follow me is that I think a lot more people actually like me than don't. And I think a lot more people hate you and the media more than you realize.
So again, what did she do? She asked a question about the Muslims. Let's see, what was it?
Anti-Muslim?
Are you anti-Muslim? Are you anti-Christian? She didn't ask that. Are you anti-Muslim? And after he gives a great answer about, I'm against these folks that impose laws and rape and murder, because he's basically pointing out what a lot of them do there in England and other places that they go to. And she gets mad, and what does she do? She goes after him. You're dangerous. See, they can't stick to their question and go through it little by little. It's, you make me mad. How dare you point out this information? As a matter of fact, if you look at Casey Crowley posted this the other day, England has 1,730 mosques. Saudi Arabia has 0 churches. This is what suicidal empathy looks like. You guys get it? Yeah.
London is a much safer city than any city in the United States. Violent crime in the UK is not where you think it is. In fact, it's coming down.
So we showed you that earlier. It makes you wonder what's going on.
Literally 100 times.
But when was the last time?
Literally a few years ago.
You know why this exercises me? Because you have really shaped opinion about the UK. And so many Americans I come across and I have conversations with, and and I just had one the other day along the order of, oh, London's such a dangerous place. How can you know? There are sort of grooming gangs everywhere. There's violence everywhere. This is a picture that people get from things that you post or that are posted on X. And
yeah, well, it's the truth. You just can't handle the truth. We got a lot more to get into with Marco Rubio. Remark that he made that's going viral. The DOJ launched an investigation into Jack Smith. Los Angeles Democrats paying $100 million to private companies owned by a Chinese billionaire. Mamdani and the Communist Party taking over and what that did to other countries listed by the CIA. Soros and how much information is coming out from just a comment that Elon made in that interview. And so much more. By now, you've probably heard there's an explosive diarrhea outbreak in the U.S. this summer. The CDC confirms the culprit, a new parasite found in grocery store fruits and vegetables, which has exposed hundreds of millions of Americans across over 30 states. The Cyclospora, a parasite linked to contaminated fresh produce. It can cause severe diarrhea, stomach cramps, nausea, fatigue, and other debilitating symptoms. If you get sick, the recommendation is to take some medication commonly known as Bactrim. That's why the wellness company created the medical emergency kit with generic Bactrim plus 7 additional prescription medications to help treat more than 25 common illnesses and medical emergencies, all prescribed before you need them. Getting your kit is simple. Complete a secure online medical questionnaire. Once approved by a licensed physician, your kit ships directly to your door. Don't wait until you're sick to wish you were prepared. Visit twc.health/LT and use code LT to save up to $30 off plus free shipping in the description box below today.
I saw Arachi, their foreign minister, who the other day say or something about their policies, an eye for an eye. The president's policy is a head for an eye. I mean, honestly, that's what it's going to be. I mean, they will pay a very heavy price. They're probably not ready to do a deal yet, but they will be soon because the price they're paying is very high despite their tough talk and their flowery language. Despite all that bravado, they are suffering tremendously, and they're going to suffer more until they come to their senses.
Yep. And the War Department put this out. Doesn't miss. Shown an aircraft spinning 360. Any aggression against Iran, including our infrastructure, will compel a powerful and decisive response. Those who contribute such aggression, whatever the kind of support, will be considered as legitimate targets. Better watch out. DOJ is coming after others.
Welcome back. The House Judiciary Committee and Chairman Jim Jordan are asking the DOJ to investigate whether former special counsel to President Biden, Jack Smith, should be criminally charged with lying to Congress. Listen.
When you ask the special counsel handpicked by the Garland Biden Justice Department to go after President Trump, Mr. Jack Smith, Mr. Prosecutor, worked at the Hague, all this, when you ask him, did you get contents of members of Congress's communications? And he says no, that is not telling the truth, because in fact he did. We think it's pretty darn clear from his deposition, from his public testimony, that he misled Congress, and 18 U.S.C. 1001 says you cannot do that. That's why we referred him.
Jack Smith. Hopefully this all plays out. It's just one guy, but we hope there's many that are underneath him and around him that get taken down. One day at a time. Information showing this.
Why did LA pay $100 million to a single hotel? This is the LA Grand Hotel, 333 South Figueroa, downtown Los Angeles. When the pandemic hit in 2020, the city leased to move homeless residents off the street through a project called Project Roomkeep. Later, it became Inside Safe, Mayor Bass's homelessness initiative. The program changed, the landlord didn't, payments didn't stop. The city agreed to pay the owner, a company called Shenzhen New World, $154 a night for every room in the building, meals included. Not per person, per room, whether anyone was in it or not. At one point, only 24% of the rooms were occupied. The city was paying over $600 a night per person actually housed.
$600 per person, but only $200 a night per room. Put 10 people in each room. What happens?
14 rooms were taken offline for fire damage. A school in the same building sued the city after documenting break-ins, drug paraphernalia, and human waste outside their entrance. The city set aside $5 million just for glass repair. The owner is a Chinese billionaire named Wei Huang. $100 million to one company. He fled to China in 2018 after the FBI started investigating. The city signed the lease for the building 2 years later. That's next.
Yeah. Wow. 14 rooms taken offline for fire damage and more. Owner's Chinese billionaire.
Everyone should be asking themselves, why would Democrats agree to pay $100 million for one hotel and then agree to a contract to pay for all the rooms regardless if a single person is actually in that hotel? I mean, the only logical explanation would be this is money laundering, right? Well, why would they do this? Why would they make this deal with this Chinese billionaire? Is he a Democrat donor would be my question. So I asked, is this guy a Democrat donor? And the answer, of course, is yes. This guy is, in fact, a Democrat donor, and the Department of Justice even brought a federal bribery case involving this Democrat donor. We have somebody that he also donated to here that was a Democrat who represented the downtown LA. He was the chair of the Powerful Planning and Land Use Committee. And look at this. He gave him all this money for luxury travel, meals, prostitutes, $600,000 funneled through a shell company. So again, this is the scam. This is the game right here. So Democrats have these huge mega donors. They're foreign. This guy is from China. They give them these amazing deals that are all really just money laundering. They're saying, oh, it's a hotel, but really they just need an excuse to give him $100 million. And then they pay for the entire hotel regardless of anyone's going to be in it because they don't care if anyone's in it.
They don't care. Which brings up the topic of communism.
So we have to stop the threat of the communist rhetoric that you're hearing right now, because these people, they don't act. I'm very happy a poll came out. It said they're highly educated, but doing very poorly. In other words, they're losers. They went to school, they got a good education, now they don't know what they're doing. So what they do is they complain about people like yourselves that have done so well. But we can't let the communist ideology we don't want to even think about it for this country.
That's right. And that was at the EPA headquarters that he was speaking. They had I love this journalist. She does a great job, man on the street type of things. And they, these are the stories mainstream won't show you. American socialists listen to this man's experience and you'll find out exactly what happens.
You don't like America? Go to North Korea. Experience life there.
Which flag do you think is the most offensive?
These two.
Yes. Why do you say that?
Because I'm from here.
Oh my gosh.
And
Tell
I
us
know
about
what
it.
life is here.
Yeah.
You want to know what life is? And here and there, prison. Go to prison, we'll find out. Nobody has rights. Only the bosses, the police, the mafia, that they have rights. We used to stay in line when it was Soviet Union. Nothing, empty stores. Everything belonged to government. Everything. There were no private businesses. If you want to sell your pants to your friend, you can get in prison because you're doing something illegal. Consequently, people used to say, government pretends to pay us, and we pretend to work. So at the end, the socialism, nobody wants to wear, drive, eat what's produced by people that pretend to work. No incentive. No dreams, only lies. Lies because the only currency is the ability to prove that you're loyal. If you're loyal, you're pushed up. If the suspicion but again, if you're smart, go down. Because the boss is afraid that you're going to take their place. It's a horrible society because human beings are not angels. Not angels.
Absolutely. What do you have to say to people who say that America is the worst on
the idiots? You don't like America? Go to North Korea. Experience life there. I'd love to see the cities there.
That's right. Yep. Good point. And here's more.
I have one more, if you don't mind. This week we've seen some major players in Democrat politics voicing or alerting really on how much influence socialism, communism has had now on kind of mainstream Democrat politics. Is there any chance that the president would be interested or is considering working with left of center Democrats to push back on this?
Left of center Democrats. See how they word it? Come on. Can he just talk to folks that are a little bit close to the center?
Well, unfortunately, we don't seem to have too many of those left in the Democrat Party. We have literal self-proclaimed communists who are winning elections and who are claiming to be the new leadership of the Democrat Party. I think the vast majority of Americans understand the dangers of communism. Just look at countries all over this world. As an example, Cuba right now is a country that is about to be a failed state because of the communist policies of the past several decades. Communism should never be allowed to lead this country, and the president obviously is strictly opposed to it and all the dangers that it reaps. We've seen it happen across the world.
Yep. Oh, communism comes up again. James Woods, here's Mamdani praying to Allah for the killing of infidels by your sword. He's the communist. Infidels include every American who is not a Muslim. Send this monster back to Uganda. You know, I want you to hear something that came up here recently on a radio show, Sid in the Morning, what they brought up about this character, Mamdani.
I actually don't know whether Mamdani won the mayoral race, and I'm not here to say that he didn't. The problem we uncovered is that the New York City and the New York State boards of elections have no idea if Mamdani won the mayoral election either. Let's look at their official records. Did they or did they not qualify the voters?
That's a fair question. So what did the data actually tell you?
Well, the shocking news said, and nobody better than you to break this story.
Okay.
7% of the voters in that election do not exist.
They don't exist.
They don't exist.
They could be dead.
No.
They're not even illegals. They just don't exist.
No, they don't exist. They never existed. They don't exist now. They won't exist in the future. They're not in utero. They're not dead. They don't exist. We also found that 6% of the voters have social security numbers that the SSA, the official government website, calls impossible and invalid. So they have fake social security numbers, but they're voting in New York City and New York State elections.
But if you assume that Mamdani got every one of that 7%, he still wins.
Right. So here's the issue. His margin of victory is 207,000 votes. We found over 230,000 votes, and we have another 1.2 million voters to study. So out of 2.2 million voters, we studied about 1 million of them, and we found more votes that are apparently illegal than his margin of victory. Again, the issue is not whether or not Mamdani won. The issue is whether or not the boards of elections in New York are actually counting fair elections so that we are properly represented as we are constitutionally granted.
Wow. Where can people find out more about all this data and what you guys are doing every day?
RealAmerica.vote is the website. You can follow me on X, Marley Hornick1, or Real America Vote on X.
Way to go, Marley. Love you. Love all you guys are doing. Saw this article. States look to guard to thwart election hackers. There's a picture of, looks like National Guard units. Joe Lang said 3 minutes warning. 3-minute warning. Part 1, can I offer a possibility I think many people have forgotten? 3 minutes. That is the important marker. Maybe the most important 3 minutes in the coming prosecution phase. Does anybody remember what happened 3 minutes before Trump left office after the election was stolen in 2020? Quote, the U.S. Department of Defense puzzled internet experts by apparently transferring control of tens of millions of dormant IP addresses to an obscure Florida company just before President Donald Trump left the White House. Minutes before Trump left office, millions of the Pentagon's dormant IP addresses sprang to life, was the title of Washington Post article on Saturday. Literally 3 minutes before Joe Biden became president, a company called Global Resource Systems, LLC, discreetly announced to the world's computer networks a startling development. It now was managing a huge unused swath of the internet that for several decades had been owned by the U.S. military, the Post said. This obscure company named Global Resource Systems suddenly controlled the largest amount of IP addresses in the world. Not much is known about this company because it's a front company for the military, but what was known is that it was a DoD action that happened minutes before Trump left office and surprised everyone. Reminder. After the stolen election, Trump placed Christopher Miller as acting Secretary of Defense, the Scaramucci model. He personally met with specific generals and leaders to discuss things face-to-face in private, and he also did something very important. As acting Secretary of Defense in November 2020, Christopher C. Miller directed that the U.S. Special Operations Command, SOCOM, be placed on par with the military services by elevating its civilian leadership to report directly to him, rather than through intermediate bureaucratic channels. Why was that so important? At what time the Pentagon was still filled with, at that time, the Pentagon was still filled with deep state operatives. Special Operations Command now reported directly to Christopher Miller. Do you know about Christopher Miller's expertise? He's a premier expert in special operations, counterterrorism, and irregular warfare. Why was he the perfect choice right before Trump left office? What if Trump never planned to hand the keys of real presidential power to an illegitimate and unconstitutionally elected president? What if the key parts of our military were still reporting directly to Christopher Miller in the background during the entire Biden term? I don't believe Biden or Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin ever controlled the full military. There's a reason why Trump and his team were watching the 2020 election results live at the Eisenhower building. There's a SCIF, a secret area where the military was watching the steal in real time. Q mentioned the National Guard being deployed, but I think most people miss the real reason. Quote, National Guard cyber experts are on duty or on call in many states to help protect next week's general election from online threats. 27 states mobilized Guard cybersecurity cells in 2018 to help local authorities harden voter registration databases and related networks before the midterm elections and monitor the systems during the voting. The number will highly likely be higher this year. A more plausible concern is hackers altering voter registration information. Hackers could also change the results on official websites on election night. Either action would diminish faith in the democratic process, a worthwhile result to some of the nation's adversaries. If the military watched the stolen election happen in 2020, what would be a good purpose for these millions of new IP addresses managed by an unknown company? Can I give a possibility? How do you monitor and capture evidence of election fraud and treason? We were asked that on the keyboard. My goodness. Great info there from Joe Lang. Now, that leads to the next thing when we're getting into elections.
Do you plan to take this fight to the Supreme Court?
Well, we do. It's actually closer to 30 states. 20 states have given us their voter rolls voluntarily, and we've found hundreds of thousands of people on those voter rolls who shouldn't have been there. Now, since the governor made this announcement, we've opened up an investigation. We asked her to disclose to us the names of the 6,600 individuals who were wrongfully put on the voter rolls, and then the 400 who voted knowing that they weren't entitled to. And today she hasn't responded to us yet, but she did tell the New York Times and others in New Jersey that she wasn't going to give us that information because, quote unquote, we would weaponize it and she doesn't trust us with the data. Well, who can't be trusted with data, Governor Cheryl? It seems like it's actually New Jersey because these people said they weren't entitled to vote, and then you put them on the voter rolls in your state, blaming the vendor, calling it a glitch, etc. It is the job of the election officials, not some data vendor, to determine citizenship when they put people on the voter rolls. That's federal law. And it also sounds like, Liz, the state allowed these people to stay on the voter rolls for more than a year after they knew that they weren't legally entitled.
Oh, for a whole year. Harmeet Dillon's all over it. It's good info. By the way, in case you guys are wondering, tariffs are back at midnight. Trump hits 60 counties over forced labor.
Peter, another topic. How's the president imposing new tariffs tonight if his tariffs were mostly struck down by the Supreme Court?
Imposing them creatively, Brett. White House officials are now using a provision that lets them punish countries that they believe are using forced labor. And so it's going to be 60 countries that import 99% of goods to this country, dealing with a new 10 to 12.5% tariff that goes into effect at midnight tonight.
The tariffs are back. Supreme Court struck the last ones down. President Trump brought him back. It's always away. Oh, so good. Remember the golden age. We're told that over and over again. We got a great interview coming out tomorrow. Precious metals hold key support levels. Silver is solid support zone. We got charts, reminders. We got the double dip that he's showing on the chart on your screen. Dr. Kirk Elliott, absolutely amazing interviews. And here's a clip from that for tomorrow.
Up a little bit, kind of tricks everybody, comes down again, hits a double bottom, and those two bottoms are generally around the same level.
He's talking about a graph that we're looking at. And that graph shows that silver bottomed out at around $55 twice. And when it did that before, where it bottomed out twice, it actually came back.
Right. And then what happens after a double bottom? Look at that chart. It went up a lot.
Yep. Could silver be going up a lot soon? We talked about it going up in August, but you guys reach out to them, amweknow.com/gold. In the description box below, they will help you out for sure. Let's get back to another portion of the interview Elon Musk put together against this strange journalist.
Where there is danger in this country is because we fail to incarcerate repeat violent offenders. And that's, the classic sort of Soros DA or judges that fail to incarcerate repeat violent offenders. And if somebody gets arrested 50 times, literally, for violent crimes, and eventually they're going to kill somebody. So you either incarcerate them or people will die.
Yeah.
The prevalence of
Very interesting. He brought up the word of the day, Soros. Just drop that right in the middle of all of this. There's an article I dropped in the description box below from Data Republican, Shadow Cabinet of Soros. Story of national security action, a secretive Soros NGO. 10 days after Trump's inauguration, a former Pentagon official publicly floated a military coup in Foreign Policy magazine. Within a year, she was advising a new Soros-funded organization that quietly assembled 70 former Obama national security officials under one roof. 46 of them went on to staff the Biden administration, including the Secretary of State, CIA Director, DNI, NSA, and UN Ambassador. 88.6% were Obama alumni. The primary funder, the Open Society Action Fund. The same woman simultaneously sat on the funder's board and the organization's advisory council. She also co-founded the Transition Integrity Project and spent 14 years at New America developing doctrine on military refusal of orders. You don't want to miss it. And grab some screenshots from that you can see on your screen, just quickly going through those. 4 seats, 1 person. Rosa Brooks was on there. Brooks' January 2017 article, and shows how all of this ties together. 3 seats, same year, same funder behind it all. And the woman actually floated a military coup 10 days into Trump's presidency. You don't want to miss that article. In the description box below, showing you Soros, the shadow cabinet of Soros. They've got some pictures and names up there for those that aren't looking but listening. Tom Perriello, Kathy Russell, Rosa Brooks, Caroline Tess, Ben Rhodes, Jake Sullivan, William Burns, Tony Blinken, Susan Rice, Penny Pritzker, Samantha Power, and Jen Psaki. All seemingly tied in together in that article. Now, remember we had the Smithsonian yesterday? Well, we didn't get enough. Let me just show you a few more. Mr. Burchett brought up something real important too. This director, Dr. Hartig.
Appreciate your constant land acknowledgments that were in the film.
At this moment, give thanks to the first people on whose land we live, love, struggle, and work. At this moment, give thanks to the first peoples on whose land we're honored to live, love, struggle, and work. Wherever we're viewing this, let us acknowledge and give our respect and gratitude to Native peoples for the opportunity to work and live in their territories. Wherever we are today, let us acknowledge and give our respect and gratitude for the opportunity to work and live in their territory.
I'm wondering, have you ever planned on deeding any of your personal property or property of the Smithsonian to any of these tribes?
I don't believe that's pertinent to the conversation, sir.
Well, I mean, you say that every time you open your meetings, apparently, and I was just curious of that acknowledgement, if that was something you were planning on doing.
You're so concerned with this idiotic land acknowledgement thing. You didn't want to give away any of your personal property to this indigenous tribe? Oh, let me show you this one.
I'm Jane Keeney. About 4 years ago, when I was a senior in high school, I got kicked out of the Smithsonian Museum for wearing a pro-life hat.
The Smithsonian isn't just one museum. It's 21 of them, spread across the country and visited by nearly 30 million people every single year. And it's not a private company. More than $1 billion of its budget comes directly from the federal government, meaning it belongs, in a very real sense, to the American people, to all of us. But sometimes there is a question of whether an institution funded by our tax dollars can be trusted to treat every American, every student, every family the same, no matter what they believe. In the winter of 2023, under the Biden administration, that trust is exactly what was tested.
Anti-abortion activists gathered on the National Mall today for the annual March for Life. It was the first time the march has been held since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
My sister, myself, and then a couple other students from my school, Our Lady of the Rosary, were very much passionate about the pro-life cause, and so we went up to DC. This was the first year where we actually were fighting in a post-Roe era. And so we were all super excited to go and be a part of this huge group of Christians and pro-life activists. It was packed. It was totally slammed. There were so many students from so many different groups, and we weren't the only group that used neon beanies to identify each other. That's a pretty common thing that they do. So we had these beanies that our group wore. We figured that was a good way to keep each other, you can see each other in a crowd with this kind of neon blue. Kept each other together in a group, and we also got to say, hey, we're here for the March for Life by putting Rosary Pro-Life on the beanie. The day that we went to the Smithsonian, that was a little bit of free time that we got kind of after the big programming of the March for Life. So there were about a dozen of us in the Air and Space Museum, a couple more who were checking out other museums in the area. We initially walked through security. We were in a pretty big group, about a dozen students total, wearing these pro-life beanies. We walked through security. We were told, oh, remove your hat for a second, to get through the metal detector, whatnot. It sounded like kind of normal procedure, and then we were put our hats back on, walked through the museum just fine, and then into a couple different areas. It was the Wright brothers area of the Air and Space Museum. We had a different security guard circle back to myself and my group while we were sitting kind of by the escalator figuring out what we wanted to do next. He walked up to us, rubbed his hands together, and said, y'all are about to make my day. Take the hats off. This is a neutral zone. You can't have that kind of inflammatory message on, or you need to leave.
What is so egregious about what happened at the museum is that while these students were singled out and targeted, told to remove their hats because they said the words pro-life on them, people all around the museum were wearing other hats, many of which contained what you might consider to be political speech.
We just wanted to look at the Air and Space Museum. We weren't even there we weren't protesting, we weren't doing anything. We were just walking around, looking at the exhibits, enjoying our nation's capital. And we were made to feel like delinquents for having a Christian message on a piece of clothing.
What set this case apart is, one, this was the federal government, and they're actually tasked with protecting the rights of the Americans. However, here, they targeted Americans and engaged in illegal activity.
Our parents, instead of saying, oh, well, it's not a big deal, whatever, you got to see most of the museum, they were outraged. And so she posted a picture on social media. It went kind of viral of our beanies, our story, and the ACLJ helped us out, and we started the fight.
At least one student from two separate groups reached out to the ACLJ, indicating that this actually took place at two different federal buildings on the same day within hours of one another. That signaled to us that this was a coordinated attack. This was not a single mistake. We immediately filed lawsuits. One lawsuit was filed against the National Air and Space Museum, one of the Smithsonian's. We alleged violation of the First Amendment, which guarantees protection of free speech. The second is the 14th Amendment, which guarantees equal treatment under the law. And the third claim alleged in the lawsuit was the violation of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, or RFRA, which which restricts or prohibits the federal government from placing a substantial burden on religious exercise. And that is precisely what happened here.
They dragged this issue on for nearly 3.5 years. That's kind of what the government does. They try to tire you out with the legal battle they want you to give up.
Our lawsuit served several important purposes. The first is to create a record of what occurred so that in the future, there's no dispute. This happened, it was a violation.
I feel like the desire for answers and the desire for clarity of that situation and what really happened there and why they came after us like that was one thing that motivated me to keep through the fight.
And so the settlement agreement that we reached in this case, the Smithsonian will maintain a policy that ensures that their visitors are allowed to wear clothing and hats and other attire that contain religious and political speech, and that they will not be targeted or singled out for that speech or discriminated against.
You know, interesting in this video, talking about religious speech and what they're wearing. Look at that. There's hijabs in the Smithsonian. How come they didn't tell them, hey, you got to take your hijab off? See how they only target the folks that stand for pro-life, wearing a hat, pro-life, not pro-death. Very interesting. So I just wanted to see the fights that we're up against at all times, always realizing, folks, that we have an amazing system in our country that protects us. And we're thankful for our country, but it's they're always an enemy. Enemies infiltrating and trying to destroy us. And a lot of it comes from Democrat Party, rhinos, but man, these folks in high places seem to have a lot of power over us. Brian Cates reminded us that they're showing you who they are. He was not joking, Julian Assange, when he said, when all is exposed, 98% of Washington will fall.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you again. So thankful for how you continue to guide and direct our lives. We ask for continued guidance and direction for those that are in power, those that you've placed in power that stand for the truth, for those that are being bombarded left and right from the enemy to try to stop from speaking the truth. We ask that you continue to provide them protection, clarity of mind, and the ability to find protection where needed in this wonderful country that has established this experiment that was put together for freedom. You see all the ways that they're trying to overrun it. You understand and hear the prayers and the calls of the people, and we can't do it without you. So we go boldly before your throne, making our requests before you known. Please help. We lift up those on the front lines, those that are in harm's way that probably not know their names, but you know them. Please protect them, their families, and more. We thank you for the truth continuing to reach out to the masses, just how the enemy works. We bring this before you in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. Folks, hope you have a wonderful weekend. An amazing week. I'm sure a lot more will play out in the next few days. Stay with us. We'll continue to keep you updated. For now, this is LT Semper Fi with Them We Know, signing out.
I think you're the problem, the media. And speaking of loathing, you're loathed far more than I am.
Reporting in the media? Yeah. Oh, then it must be true. It's in the media. It's a leaker. I'm not going to, let's imagine that were true. I certainly wouldn't discuss it in the press.
Is there any chance that the president would be interested or is considering working with left of center Democrats to push back on this?
Well, unfortunately, we don't seem to have too many of those left in the Democrat Party.
We have gone so long letting the left say the most crazy, outlandish thing.